Hello? 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 Testing. Oh, that's better. That's good. Right, thank you. Testing. Just turn the microphone.
Leave it on.
Testing. 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 Are you happy to sit your seat? We're just
Go on,
getting
please do,
the, I'm
please do.
sorry, well, it's just for the camera, just checking that, testing. Feel all right. Oh. Side of the room. It's moving. Testing.
Okay, welcome back everyone. Let's resume, please. I think the technology is now up and running again, which is good. Let's hope it lasts this time. We're going to begin cross-examination now of Mr. Anderson, the Apple Green Highways witness. So we'll begin with the council's cross-examination, please, if you're ready, Mr. Steele.
I have no questions, sir. Thank you.
Right, okay, thank you. Then Mr. Chun.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, Mr. Anderson.
Good afternoon.
Now, Mr. Anderson, there is a large amount of material on traffic and highways before the inquiry. I'm not going to cover every point with you on which we disagree, and I hope so that no procedural point will be taken on that. The battle lines are well and truly drawn on some of the issues, and as my learned friend has already commented, we've done the same issues about 4 times, and I'm about to do them for the 5th time. So there's a limit to everyone's patience. So as an example of one of the matters I'm not going to go into in a great deal of detail is this whole business about the departures, the contrast on departures, type A versus type C. I've got one brief point on that, which I'll come on to. Another is your disagreement with Mr. O'Geill about the study area, allowances for local traffic. You've said why you made the judgment call you did, and he's given his evidence as to the judgment call he would have made, etc. So we'll leave that one with the inspector. Just on that final point, though, could I just ask you to turn to see whether we can agree the facts? If you turn to Mr. O'Geill's evidence, at paragraph 5.1.1, page 13, he produces a table comparison of the two schemes. Do you agree that what's set out there is factual, correct, and you don't dispute it?
Yes, I agree.
Thank you very much. So the first topic then is this business about the bridge replacement at junction 4. If you just want to remind yourself of what the position is, the position as taken by National Highways, if we turn up Mr. Sims' rebuttal and turn to page 2 of that, please. And it's paragraph 311 in the table, paragraph 311 in the table. So the starting point is the National Highways, who presumably you can agree they are responsible for the bridge, Mr. Anderson.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah. They are clear that the bridge does not need to be replaced absent your proposal. That's the starting point, isn't it?
It is.
Now, you say that the bridge will need replacing at some point in the future. That's set out in that comment box. That's taken from your proof of evidence. As my learned friend has already said this morning, we looked yesterday at the bridge inspection reports, which were completed by National Highways. That's SOL 61 and SOL 62, carried out in July last year. Do you agree with me, Mr. Anderson, that those reports provide no support whatsoever for the proposition that the bridge needs replacing, do they?
I don't think I said the bridge we're replacing now. They are deteriorating, and there are deficiencies in the bridge which will only get worse.
Right. Okay, well, let's divide that answer up. You are not saying that the bridge needs replacing now. So that's point number 1.
Yeah.
Point number 2, back to my question, those reports provide no support whatsoever, do they, for the proposition that the bridge needs replacing, whether now or any time in the future. No reference in those reports at all.
There's no reference in the reports.
Yeah. In fact, let's just cut to the chase here. National Highways send out someone to inspect the bridge. Presumably, Mr. Anderson, you agree with me that that's a very responsible job. You've got to make sure you send out someone who knows what they're doing.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you say that they were so incompetent that they found a bridge that needs replacing, but in fact what they said in the report was, this bridge is in good condition?
As I said earlier in examination chief, that given the number of serious defects in the survey, I'm surprised they said it was in good condition. And my contention is that it has to be a benefit for a bridge that is suffering at the moment and will need remediation and maintenance to keep it going, and may in the future need replacing. That if that is replaced now at no cost to the public purse.
We'll come back to the suffering point in a moment, Mr. Anderson. Is it your evidence to our inspector that this chap or lady who went out, so incompetent, they said the bridge is in good condition, when what they should have said was, this is a bridge that needs replacing? Is that your evidence?
No, I'm not saying they just said it needs replacing, but I'm surprised they said it's in good condition. I would question, and I'm not a structural engineer, the level of consideration that was taken. Obviously, in our discussions with Mr. Ali, with our survey, which showed similar things, he went into far more detail looking at the implications of those deficiencies. The front sheet of this report is a general comment. I'm not sure that it contains any detailed analysis of what the findings were.
Sorry, which report are we talking about now? The National Highways?
The recent report.
Yeah. But Mr. Anderson, the whole point of the summary is to draw together everything that is listed in detail in the report and then tell the reader what the condition of the bridge is. That's the point of it, isn't it?
Yes.
Thank you. The inspector can read for himself what the conclusion was. in terms of other evidence then, let's have a look at what you say in your paragraph 310, other evidence in front of the inquiry about the bridge and whether it needs replacing. Give me one moment, get your evidence up. I thought I had your, I've got so many tabs open. Sure I had your, it's open. Just give me one moment. Right, stay with me. That's okay, I'll get there in a moment. So it's your 310, paragraph 310. We've been there a number of times already. At 310, you quote from an email, don't you, which is now being provided in full to the inquiry.
Yes.
Now, before we turn to what the email says, it's right, isn't it, that the context in which that email was written by National Highways, the context was that your clients were suggesting that the existing bridge could be modified in the way that you were saying, and National Highways was responding to that suggestion as to whether they agreed or disagreed as to whether the existing bridge could be strengthened and kept and have an extra load put on it. That was the context of the response, wasn't it?
That's correct. We were in discussion with them at the time.
So if we then go to the email itself, document 7.
Sorry, Mr. Chung, if you could just hold on for one moment. Apparently the system is having trouble with two people having a microphone on at the same time.
Sorry.
So no, that's fine, Mr. Anderson. It's what we've been doing throughout the inquiry, but it's not working today. So if you could switch your microphone off when you're not speaking and then put it back on to answer. Thank you.
Okay, so Mr. Anderson, I'll go first. So inquiry document 7, we've given the inspector the context in which it was written. So we turn that up and we see in italics the response. And my learned friend has taken the inquiry a number of times to the first paragraph, which, as he rightly points out, National Highways said that the bridge is in distress, identified serious structural defects, etc. We then see, as a result, the proposed widening of the deck would exacerbate these issues. Already the reserve factor is reduced to 1, which would mean that on day of opening, we would have to intervene and close the breach. I think there's some error there in the grammar, but anyway. However, under current conditions, we are managing the structure successfully without any restrictions. Yes? And then we go back to the context. These structural defects combined with the strengthening works that you have proposed to do, in addition to the foot breach, indicate that a better option would likely be a new structure. So we now have the context and the email clarity. And my question to you, once again, is this email provides no support, does it, for the proposition that the bridge needs to be replaced absent your scheme, either now or anytime soon?
There's nothing in the email saying that, no.
No. And you are not giving any evidence to the inspector, are you, as to when you say the bridge would otherwise need replacing if it wasn't for your client's generosity?
No, I'm not. I'm just highlighting the poor condition poor condition of the bridge at the moment, which obviously would reduce its lifetime.
We've also very kindly been provided with inquiry document number 8. Document number 8, which is the inspection assessment that was carried out by ACOM. Yes. And if you turn, please, to page 6 of that. And just so that we get our bearings, this was, turn to page 6 and paragraph 1.4, the objectives, we're told when it was carried out. So it was carried out in February 2019, just a year or so, a bit longer than a year before the reports that we've already looked at from National Highways. That's right, isn't it?
Correct.
And if we then turn to page 42, because we have a lot of detail, a lot of photographs, and then we get to page 42, which tells a layperson like me, in layman's language, what all of this detail actually amounts to and what it means. I'm just trying to make my way to page 42, section 6, and it's heading Conclusions and Assessment Implications of the North Bridge, paragraph 6.1. Multiple defects are noted on this bridge, some of which need to be considered within the assessment specifically for the change of loading from 3 vehicle lanes to 4 vehicle lanes, and others which need to be considered for the continued use of the bridge in its current 3-lane configuration and which may concern the future durability of the bridge. So what we can see here is that the report, having done the detailed legwork above, now is considering two matters. The first is, what does the condition of the bridge mean for doing what Applegreen would like to do, namely changing the loading? And secondly, what does it mean, what does the detail mean in terms of the future durability of the bridge? So there are two questions there being posed. That's right, isn't it?
That's what it says, yes.
And then the first heading deals with the first of those questions, defects to be considered within the assessment being an assessment of doing what Applegreen want to do. Yes?
That was it needed to be taken into account in the assessment of whether it was suitable to widen it, yes.
And then as far as the only matter I'm concerned with is, absent your scheme, what is the implication of this report for the continued use of the bridge, which we see at paragraph 6.6. It tells us, although ASR type cracking tends to be unsightly and in severe cases can result in spalling of cover concrete and exposure reinforcement, currently this is not considered as an issue for the numeric assessment. However, material testing should be carried out to verify the existence of ASR and considerations given to the long-term durability implications. So, stopping there, this report provides no support whatsoever for the proposition that this is a bridge that needs replacing, does it?
Does highlight the deficiency, the poor condition of certain elements of the bridge.
It does, but all I want to know is an answer to my question, which is, it provides no support for the proposition that this is a bridge that needs to be replaced now or anytime soon.
It certainly doesn't say it needs to be replaced now. Given the deterioration of the bridge, I would say it would need to be replaced at some time in the future or have significant maintenance to keep it going.
And we've already confirmed that you have no evidence to give as to when sometime in the future. 30 years, 40 years, 10 years, but you have no expertise and offer no expertise on that, do you?
I'm not a structural engineer, so I wouldn't like to speculate on that.
Thank you very much, Anderson. Very briefly, next topic, the benefit claimed by Applegreen in terms of curing an existing defect at the southbound off-slip. Now, the context of these questions, Mr. Anderson, is the acceptance by Mr. Haley that it was a benefit, and not seeking to go behind that evidence. I just want to understand the context of this benefit, the context of the departure, which I'm unclear about. So you say in your evidence it's an existing departure. presumably, National Highways have a responsibility to ensure that the motorway network is safe, yes?
Yes.
If they were of the view that it was unsafe now, they would take action to rectify the situation, wouldn't they?
Yeah, but the committee development traffic has not arisen on the motorway yet to reach that level on the slip road.
So not unsafe now. And so what you're saying is it will become unsafe in the future.
Yes, the development traffic that has been approved from surrounding developments would increase the level to the level I've stated in my evidence.
And at that point, the National Highways may or may not decide that it's reached a level where safety dictates that something should be done about it.
That's correct.
Very much. Next topic is DFT Circular 0213. Do you agree that the minimum spacing criteria set out in the circular is drawn from DMRB?
Sorry, can I just find the circular?
Any point and take up a document and have it in front of you before you answer the question, please do so. I'm sorry, I'm just, because we've been to all the documents so many times, I thought we could pick up a bit of speed, but don't, you must have the
Can somebody
document.
give me the reference, please?
The document reference is, moment. Document reference is SOL 043.
Thank you.
My question again, do you agree that the minimum spacing criteria that we see in the circular is taken from DMRB? It's a DMRB standard.
Sorry, can you give me the reference to the paragraph?
Find the document myself. I thought I had a hard copy of it, but it's paragraph B8, just from memory, paragraph B8, and the discussion about spacing starts at B6.
Sorry, can you repeat your question then, please?
Yeah. Do you agree that the minimum spacing referred to within the circular is drawn from DMRB?
Yes.
Do you agree that the spacing is a standard, like any other standard within DMRB, a departure from it can be granted if it is deemed safe to do so?
A departure can be granted from a standard, not assuming it is the standard.
Sorry, I didn't understand that.
Sorry, if the standard is for instance 2 kilometres and a departure is given for 1.5, then it is a departure from that standard.
Yes, thank you. So a departure can be granted if it's deemed to be safe. And in this case, National Highways has deemed it safe to grant that departure.
They have granted a departure for the the reduced weaving length.
Thank you very much. Next topic is mixed lane running. Mixed lane running. Just picking up a point that you made in chief, can I just understand your position in terms of the likelihood of mixed lane running coming about? Is it correct to say that your position is that you accept that on the current timetable, my client's motorway service area, if granted, will not actually open until there is all lane running on the motorway for its entire length in any event?
That's what we've been told, yes.
Accept that. Have you seen anything from National Highways or anywhere else to suggest that that timetable will not be met?
I've not seen anything. I just made the general comment that timetables can change.
So is it right, or can we agree, that this entire point arises if and only if the inspector decides to speculate that the timetable may slip?
Sorry, but what entire point?
Sorry?
What entire point were you referring to?
The timetable for national highways making the motorway all lane running.
I think so. Sorry, I've lost the track of what we were saying here.
Let's start
Sorry,
again.
let me
Let's
move
start
the
again.
microphone. It's not very clear.
Yeah, let's start again. So your point that arises under this topic in terms of the risk-benefit analysis, you remember that point, the risk-benefit analysis that was carried out by highways, the national highways?
Yes.
Yeah. Can we agree that your point only arises for consideration if the inspector decides to speculate that the current timetable set out by national highways will slip?
I don't believe my point focused solely on the mixed regime. If the inspector decides that it's unlikely that there will be a mixed regime, then obviously he's entitled to do so.
Right. Do you disagree with the finding by national highways that the overall safety benefits of the development proposal outweigh the safety disbenefits?
No.
It therefore follows, doesn't it, that if the inspector decides to grant the extra scheme so, without prejudice to the point that I've already made to you about the timetable, and there is a scenario whereby there is mixed lane running, that does not create a safety problem, does it?
Sorry, can you clarify that point?
Yeah. You've accepted in the previous question that you don't disagree with the finding by national highways that the overall safety benefits of the development proposal outweigh the safety disbenefits. You've accepted that as a proposition. And what I'm putting to you is that it follows from that even if there is mixed lane running because the timetable slips, it follows from that will not create a safety problem, will it?
That would still be the case, that the benefits of the MSA would outweigh the disbenefits.
That's right. And it must logically follow from that it would not be open to our inspector to refuse the scheme on highway safety grounds, would it?
I don't believe we're saying that.
No. So where does this point that's been made a number of times about the fact that at junction 4, you can have the safety benefits of an MSA without the risk of mixed lane running. Where does this point get you other than saying to our inspector, approve the junction 4 scheme because it is even safer?
Sorry, we are not saying that the junction 4 scheme doesn't so I'm losing track of the issue here. The junction 4 scheme doesn't introduce mixed lane running. It's not just the mixed lane running at junction 5A that's the issue as far as we're concerned. It's the increased risk of the shorter weaving length and the other departures.
Right. Well, you could put everything in the mix if you want. Given the questions and the propositions you've accepted coming up to this, where does this point get you other than to the point of saying to our inspector, you should approve the junction 4 scheme because it is even safer? That's what you're saying, isn't it? That's the only thing that this point can go to.
Yes, we're saying that the junction 4 scheme provides the same safety benefits as the extra scheme at 5A, but doesn't have the disbenefits of the mitigation measures that are outweighed by the benefits of the MSA at 5A.
And in order for the inspector to accept the approved junction 4 scheme because it's even safer, he has to, doesn't he, as a matter of logic, accept the proposition that safety is not binary, but a continuum.
Yes, I mean, you can say something is safe, but there are degrees of risk associated with different activities.
Right. Well, that's your position, and time will tell whether he's prepared to accept such a proposition. Next topic is link roads. I'm just going to apologise in advance for doing this all over again. I'll try and keep it as simple as I can. Let's go to or rather than going to the DCO report, let's go to the document that my learned friend wanted to go to, because that's where the quote is taken from, that's then repeated in the DCO report. And that is the that is REP 4-010, which was the National Highways, or Highways England as they were then, representation to the DCO. And it's page 58.
I have that.
If we go to the bottom of the page.
Sorry, Mr. Chung, what's the inquiry documents reference, please? It's the one of the WeTransfer.
Inquiry document number 9. So it came.
Thank you.
So let's just get, I just want to get, we've done, as I said, we've done this uphill, down Dale, and I just want to give the inspector the references and he can go away and make his own mind up about where this point goes. Just want to take it in chronological order. So we have this information that was given by Highways England to the DCO inspector, and that's why we see the quote and what we do see in the DCO report. And if we look at the bottom of page 58, and if we pick it up under the answer 1, 2, 3, 4, the 4th paragraph. So this is when they say the scheme, of course, they're talking about the DCO scheme. The modelling for the scheme has accordingly developed take account of future land use and infrastructure schemes, which are classified as being either near certain or more likely, more than likely, right? More than likely. These plans and schemes are defined in the uncertainty log presented with the Transport Assessment Report. Based on the Web TAG guidance, the modelling for the scheme has not taken account of aspirational future development. And then we see this in relation to new roads, road schemes or road improvements that are envisaged to accommodate the growth anticipated for 2041, up to 2041. The UK Central Hub Growth Infrastructure Plan, Issue 3, UK Central, etc., 9th of January 2018, identifies the need for further infrastructure capacity in order to accommodate likely generated traffic by the additional development. Now, just pausing there, yeah, we then see the quote. The quote is not National Highways quote. It's not their document. They are quoting from somebody else's document, aren't they?
That's correct. But that was the reasoning they put. One of the reasons they put forward for needing to provide a dumbbell junction.
Any link roads that are built would not be National Highways link roads. They would be link roads that would need to be brought forward by UK Central, wouldn't they?
That's correct.
It would be for them to bring them forward and make the case for them through the planning process, wouldn't it?
It would.
And then we get the quote, it's likely that further road capacity would be needed, and one potential solution would be to build link roads between the new M42 Southern Junction, etc., etc. Now, on this vexed question of one potential solution, it's right, isn't it, that UK Central themselves have more than that as a solution. That's one of their solutions, but they may well have other solutions.
They may, but that was the solution presented by Highways England to support the format of the junction as a dumbbell, whereas the inspector had noted that all other junctions of that form were free flow, and he needed a good reason to decide that a dumbbell was acceptable, and that was the one reason he took with. The other points he dismissed. Right.
Okay. I don't necessarily accept all of that, but let's say I do, for the purposes of let's say that I do. As far as this inquiry is concerned and this inspector is concerned, it doesn't matter what Highways England said to the DCO inspector. All that matters, Mr. Anderson, tell me if you agree, all that matters is that in terms of dealing with future capacity, if it is needed, the link roads are one potential solution. And UK Central clearly have other solutions, don't they?
Yeah, that was the one potential solution presented at the inquiry, but there are other improvement schemes. I'm not clear on whether they provide the same capacity or additional growth allowance that the current schemes you suggest are doing.
Let's then put all of this in context. If we read further, uncertainty exists surrounding the works envisaged beyond phase 1 of the UK Central Hub, as they are not committed development. As such, these works did not qualify as being either near certain or more than likely, and were considered to represent aspirational development due to their speculative nature at the time of undertaking the modelling. Now, just pausing there, if this point that you take against my client's scheme is going to go anywhere, it requires you to persuade our inspector to have regard to something which is described as not what? It's described as something which does not come up to the standard of being more than likely. In other words, it's less than likely.
The inspector can take his view on that, but obviously you need to take into consideration the inspectorate's decision on the DCO, which was the form was there to allow potential for future growth by the provision of north-facing link roads.
Well, Mr. Anderson, it may well have been. As I say, I don't really care about that. You are asking our inspector, aren't you? Our inspector. I'm interested in this scheme, the proposal which is before this inspector. And as part of this entire point about the link roads, you are asking him, it seems to me, of necessity, to factor into his decision something which is described in the only documents we have in front of us as something which is less than likely to happen. That must follow, mustn't it?
Yes.
Thank you very much. So that's where the whole debate started. It was a quotation from a UK Central document where they were floating this as one potential solution. We then go to the documents which we were looking at earlier today that you looked at, Chief, and just had a note of those. So before we see what happened to the 2018 document and what's happened to it, let's just go to the 2018 document to pick up another point that arises. So the UK 2018 document. Now, before I put this question, you will recall that Mr. Katkowski said to Mr. O'Geill that the link roads were going to come in phase 4. You remember that?
I do.
Yeah. Have a look at the UK Central document, page 36. And we see at the top of the page, phase 2, 2023 to 2027. And if you then make your way down to the bottom, we see where the quote came from. Road links and public transport. Work will be continuing from the previous phase. It's likely the further road capacity will be needed, and one potential solution would be to build link roads between the new M42 Southern Junction and the existing Junction 6 on both sides of the motorway to provide direct access to UK Central. Now, it is not right, is it? Not right that the link roads were being planned for phase 1. They were being planned in the 2018 document as one solution that was being put forward. One solution put forward in the 2018 document was for link roads in phase 2, i.e. by 2027.
Sorry, just bear with me whilst I review the document again. That's correct.
And then if we go to UK Central, what we found on their webpage, it tells us in terms that the 2018 document has been superseded, doesn't it?
It does.
And if there were any doubt, if you want to make a distinction between vision documents and plans, we're told that the 2019 vision document, which Mr. O'Geill took my learned friend to and they took the inquiry to, supersedes the 2018 document, doesn't it?
That's what he says.
Yeah. So for the 2018 document, we should now be looking at the 2019 document. And the 2019 document, I think you agreed in chief, makes no reference, either in phase 2 or 2029 and beyond, to any link road, does it?
It does not.
So can we agree that a link road, or the link roads, were mentioned in a document as one potential solution? That solution was described by National Highways to the DCO scheme as speculative, and the only document in which they were mentioned is a document which no longer exists. That's the position, isn't it?
I don't think the solution was described in the DCO as being speculative.
Oh, I'm not going to go back. The inspector has the passages I took him to. The word speculative was actually used, but never mind. The inspector has.
I believe that
my-
was used for the development, wasn't it? Not for the link roads. But
Well, I say, I'm not going to go back. If you don't accept that part of the proposition, fine, the inspector can read the document again. But I put the question to you again. The reference was in a document, 2018 document, a UK central document. When National Highways referred to it in front of the DCO inspectors, they said that it was aspirational. Do you remember that? Let's go back. I'm saying I'm not going to go there. Let's go back. It's Rep 4. Yeah,
I had that.
page 58. So what we see there in the last paragraph that I read to you, this is my understanding. If you read it differently, please say so. In the previous paragraph, they have brought up the issue or the matter of UK Central and what it is that they would like, right? Okay. What sort of infrastructure that they have identified. And one infrastructure that they've identified, one piece of kit as a potential solution, are the link roads. They then, as far as Highways England were concerned, what they say is uncertainty exists surrounding the works envisaged beyond phase 1 of the UK Central Hub, as they're not committed development. As such, these works do not qualify as being either near certain or more than likely, and were considered to represent aspirational development due to their speculative nature at the time of undertaking the modelling. So it seems to me to follow from that, Mr. Anderson, as I say, if you read it differently, please say so. We can make our respective submissions on it. That whether it's the link roads or whether it's anything to do with UK Central post phase 1 is neither near certain nor more than likely and is speculative in nature. And that must include any necessity for the link roads. If the whole scheme is described as such, you wouldn't describe the link roads as anything other than that, would you?
No, that's what it says. I apologise. I thought it was referring to the development itself and not to the link roads.
Not at all, but perhaps I could have been.
But obviously, you know, any future.
So let me go back to my summary of the situation, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. The reference to the link roads is made by UK Central in a document which they have now withdrawn. That's how I read the word superseded. And even when it was in the document, when the document was current, National Highways' position was that these are speculative in nature. That's a fair summary of where we've got to, isn't it?
Yes.
Sorry, just give me one moment. And are you able to point me to any document, anywhere, which has any planning status whatsoever, which would support the proposition that these link roads are going to happen?
No, I cannot. But obviously, the purpose of building the junction in that form or agreeing the junction in that form was to allow for future capacity improvements and keeping those northern sides of the roundabout clear for that was the purpose of going for a dumbbell rather than a free flow junction.
And then finally, we just have the point of disagreement between you and Mr. Haley, and to some extent, Mr. Sim, about whether you can deliver these without major reconfiguration. And on that, Mr. Sim and Mr. Haley are agreed that on the eastern side, you don't need major reconfiguration. And on the western side, Mr. Haley doesn't agree with you that you need major reconfiguration. And I think just to get this right, I think Mr. Sim did accept my learned friend's point that on the western side, you may need major reconfiguration. That's where we got to.
I think I explained in chief that on the eastern side, the link roads would have to swing out, but could probably still connect into the junction in a similar form to that it is now. But in the western side, you would have to enlarge the junction significantly to get another arm off it. And it's a question of whose interpretation of what is major, I think.
Right, so it's the western link that you're concerned about, whether you can get a western link road.
But what I'm saying is that the eastern link road would have to deviate significantly away from the motorway to come in the gap on the eastern side of the roundabout, and the western side there isn't a space for a link road.
On the eastern side, forgive me for putting it this way, but just save time. So what?
Obviously, there are risks associated with land acquisition, etc., to deliver that.
Well, we have no evidence on that at all, do we?
Not that I've submitted, no.
On the western side, I'm very confused about this, Mr. Anderson. On the western side, we've gone through the history of this, where the whole idea came from, or what status the idea has now. I say it has a zilch status. That's fairly clear from the questions I put to you. But just on the western side, we now have the DCO link. Mr. O'Geel explained that UK Central was a concept which included a number of things: the NEC, the airport, so on and so forth. And then on the eastern side, Arden Cross. Now that we have the link road on the western side, why would you need another link road to get to the NEC or Birmingham Airport or any of those places? If I want to go there and I'm coming from the south, I would just go on the link road, wouldn't I?
The plans that indicated the link roads also had the western link to the Clockhouse Junction, so it's not something that's appeared since those schemes were drawn up.
But why would I? What possible highways justification would there be to build another road alongside the DCO road to get you to the very place where the DCO road is getting you?
Well, it's to provide additional capacity in the network. I've not looked at the detail of, well, there was no detail around how that would necessarily work. But
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Anderson. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Stockley, do you have any questions for this witness?
So no, thank you. I've no questions at all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Right, Mr. Kakowski, then, any re-examination?
Just a very few questions in a very few moments' time, so if you just bear with me for one moment, please. Oh. Right, just I think 3 points, very few points, Mr. Anderson. So, first of all, the Northern Bridge, Junction 4, even I've had enough of it. So, we've seen the various records in relation to its structural condition. Would it or would it not be a benefit for it to be replaced at no cost to the public purse?
well, clearly it would be a benefit because you'd have a new structure without those deficiencies that would be more resilient and last longer.
Thank you. Good. And then just 2 points of clarification, please, about again, in similar vein as the Northern Bridge, the link roads. I think we're all getting weary of these. But the link roads, can you go to inquiry document 9, please? The next question is simply a question of clarification. So within inquiry document 9.
Sorry, can you let me find it?
Of course.
I haven't got it open.
Of course. Inquiry 9, which I think is the Highways England extract.
Sorry, is that INQ9?
Yes, as I understand it.
Oh,
Yes. Any joy or?
no, is it against a particular case?
No, I
Don't think it's been uploaded to the website yet.
Oh,
but
I
it's
see.
one of
So
the recent documents.
you had it, so I think it was emailed to you, do you
Yeah,
recall? And
I probably have it as an email if you could bear with me.
yes, because you were asked questions about it by my learned friend, so I believe you had it open when you were asked questions about it. Must admit, I think we gave the inquiry the reference. You had it, but I don't know where you got it from. Yeah, it's one of Hannah's emails to you, but I don't know whether you've.
I have INQ 8 and 7 and 8.
Oh, if I've given you the wrong number, then. Yes.
It's in an email from the programme officer
Ah, okay.
at 11:43.
So this is one I've got there as rep 4-10. Yeah, I have that.
Rep 4-10, that's the one. Yes, that's right. So in that document, using the original pagination, almost lost the will, I think, but page 58 using the original
Sorry,
pagination.
all I have is I have the 4-page version.
That's right. So within that document,
Yeah.
it would be in the 4-page version. I think
I have page 58.
Good, which I think is page 3 in the 4-page version. So, and do you recall you were taken to, oh, where's it gone? In the answer on that page, the 4th paragraph, the modelling for the scheme. Do you have that paragraph? The modelling for the scheme?
I do, yes.
Has accordingly been developed to take account of future land use and infrastructure schemes which are classified as being near certain or more than likely. These plans and schemes are defined in the uncertainty log presented within the TA report. Based on the web tag guidance, the modelling for the scheme has not taken account of aspirational future development. So, and my learned friend then took you to, do you remember the bottom of that page? Uncertainty exists surrounding the works envisaged beyond phase 1. As such, these works did not qualify as being either near certain or more than likely. We turn the page and were considered to represent aspirational development due to their speculative nature. So I just wanted to ask a question of clarification so that we can see here that nothing beyond phase 1 is entered into the model for the reasons explained. Are you a web tag guidance person? What is the category below? We've got near certain, we've got more than likely. It was assumed by my learned friend the category below more than likely was unlikely. Do you have the foggiest idea what the
I'm afraid
categories
that's that's not in my expertise.
Right, okay. All right, fine. I just wondered what, All right, well, there you are. Good, but the reason is given there, as we've seen at the bottom of the page, nothing beyond phase 1. And the other point I just wanted to take you to is, do you remember my learned friend cross-examined you saying, on the basis of saying that, well, we have betrayed to the inquiry that these link roads were envisaged to be in phase 4, whereas in fact, when you look at the 2018 UK Central document, they're referred to as early as phase 2. Do you remember that?
I do.
Yeah, I wonder if you could just take for the final time this inquiry, SOL 134, which is the examining inspector's report for the DCO. And in it, go to PDF page 247 when you have it. So SOL 134, PDF page 247. Tell me when you're there, Mr. Anderson.
247, yes.
PDF page 247.
Yeah, I have it.
Thank you. Do you have on that page UKC upgrowth area?
I do.
Good. we've been here loads of times. Well, I have anyway. 514.9. So this is a panel reporting, and we're told just above the bullet points, this DCO is a crucial second phase in a 4-phase programme of further infrastructure development. And if we go to phase 4, I mean, it's made this very plain to the inquiry. This is where I've derived this from. The panel's report, phase 4, 2026 to 2041, UK Central Hub Growth and Infrastructure Plan, future road capacity, link roads, Rep 4-010. So as far as the panel was concerned, was it its understanding these link roads were in phase 4, 2026 to 2041? That's the first factual question.
That's what it says in the report, yes.
Thank you. And secondly, the reference to Rep 4-010, is that a reference to Highways England's representations once again?
It is. We've obviously seen that.
Yeah. Well, we've seen an extract from it. I think we've got the full, I think we might have the full document somewhere. But anyway, the panel derived that from that same representation. All right, that's what I wanted to ask you. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Mr. Anderson. And I believe, Mr. Anderson, that I think this is the last inquiry you're to do. You retire at Christmas. Well, in that case, I'm sure whatever the differences of opinion, professional opinion across the room, I'm sure we'd all like to congratulate you on a distinguished career and wish you a happy retirement. Oh, I see. All right. Yeah.
My business card is in my right pocket.
Oh, well.
Thank you for that, Mr. Anderson. Right, okay, that brings us to the end of the highways evidence. We're not due to move on to the next topic according to the programme until tomorrow, and that's ecology. It's 10 to 3 now. Are the ecology witnesses here? My first question.
No.
Well, we won't move on to
and
those.
And what's more to the point, given that my learned friend, I can't speak for my learned friend, but given that I'll be expected to ask some questions of my learned friends ecologists, I better do some prep. I don't know whether my learned friend's in the same boat or not.
Right. Right. Okay.
So
fine.
That's the first point. So just before you sort of bring us to a close, I want to say tomorrow we've got the ecology session, and there you are, and that's evidence in chief and cross examination. I wonder. I know this request has been made before and you've rejected it, but I just wonder whether you're so kind to just give some further thought, perhaps overnight, to whether the arboricultural session could be a round table session, because the issues are so narrow now. And again, I can't speak for my own friend, but from my part, I mean, I genuinely can't see that it needs to be, a subject subjected to cross-examination. And I wondered whether you could just rethink that. I don't know whether my own friend would wish to comment, but I wondered if you could just rethink that, please.
Well, no, so you'll recall that we asked for it to be done by round table. So my position remains the same. I'm of the view that it's a subject that's capable of being addressed through a round table, but as always, these are matters for use.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Well, I'll certainly consider it, and we can talk about that tomorrow.
Thank you very much indeed, sir. And then the final question for clarification I just want to ask is that, obviously next week we'll be doing all the planning evidence from all the parties, and I just wondered if we could have an update. I believe that the latest state of players it is now likely, I don't know whether in the web tag lock it would be said to be certain or more than likely, that Mr. Osborne is going to be with us. And I wonder, first of all, if my own friend can help us with that. And secondly, I'm assuming now that, hoping and assuming Mr. Osborne is able to be with us next week, that he'll be here in person, because there was talk originally of him being on the screen, which would be a hopelessly awful way of dealing with matters. So I just wonder whether we can have some clarification of that, please.
Yes. Are you able to help us with that, Mr. Still?
So certainly, yes and yes.
That's
Okay. Fairly definitive. Good. Okay. Anything else then before we adjourn for today? Okay. fine. We'll adjourn now until 9:30 tomorrow then.
Thank you, sir.